Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us for KTN News Desk on this 18th day of October 2016. My name is Akisa Wandera. Our sign language interpreter is Lensa Owino. And a lot has been happening today. We have the State House Conference on Corruption. We will be speaking to Chris Tairu on that. He was at State House. Members of Parliament are expected to debate the report by the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee on the nomination of Justice David Maraga for the position of Chief Justice. We also have that lined up for you among others. But first, let's take a look at the highlights. President Uhuru Kenyatta lashes out at state agencies for failure to tackle corruption in the country. Parliament to debate a report on Justice David Maraga as the nominee for the position of Chief Justice. And U.S. election campaigns on the final stretch ahead of November 8th presidential election. All right, many thanks for staying with us. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has defended his record in fighting corruption, insisting that he had allowed all relevant government agencies sufficient space to deter the crime. In a speech to an audience attending a corruption summit at State House, President Kenyatta claimed his government has done more than all previous administrations since independence in fighting graft.
Who has ever been named or touched upon, starting on by Wakina Wako and all these fellows here. We have a case against so-and-so. I've done my part. At great expense, political also. By asking these people, okay, look, I don't know. Step aside. And they've done it. Then where do we go from there? So I'm innocent. And I say, I don't know whether you're innocent or guilty, but this is the case. Move aside. They move aside. I go and I say, okay, look, please, you investigators, everybody, I give you 3 months, I'm told, to prove innocence or guilt. I'm told, by the way, that pronouncement itself is unconstitutional. You have no power to say 3 months. But yet there's a person there, I don't know their innocence or guilt, but there's a person, a human being, a Kenyan, like you and me. We set up a multi-agency so that we can coordinate our affairs. Still no movement. I sit with the Chief Justice. Please, why don't we expedite this? Still no movement. As Justice Kihara, I've just heard him sitting there saying, I wish that there would be a way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, guilty, innocent, if guilty, charged. Nothing. And by the way, I have taken the actions that I can take within the Constitution, respecting the Constitution. When we sit down, and I challenge all the agencies here, they said, oh, we don't have resources, we don't do it. Again, that is within my power, giving them all the resources, and I challenge them today to stand up and say that we have been denied resources and that is why we are unable to move. That's not the case. The judiciary, I have even no role. I even actually challenged it and they went because it's themselves, right? And I was told that the Judicial Service Commission is the one that has the role, and they went because wenyewe kwa wenyewe kujidefend. They'll give me one name and my only role is to sign. Who is a judge? who is the Chief Justice, I have no role. But yet, I stand accused that the executive is not doing enough. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you want me to do? Niwaulize. Mr. Young man, I don't know your name, but I've been hearing you talking right now. Irongo. What? Irongo? Yes, Irongo. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? We have the Auditor General. Keep saying money was stolen from Eurobond. Asema. I did not appoint you. All right? I cannot sack you. What is your problem? Sema, kama imeibiwa, sema iliibiwa na Uhuru, imeibiwa na nani, imeibiwa na nani. Kini kusema, I'm investigating, or we are looking, or report. A lot of nonsense, to tell you the truth. Why can't you just say, if it's the Inspector General, he is amefanya makosa hii na hii, prosecute him. Kama ni Uhuru, prosecute me. What's the problem? What have you been denied? Yeah? This is just a political circus.
Now, one person was killed last night when police guarding Governor Ali Roba's residence clashed with Al-Shabaab gunmen in Mandera town. The man, a passerby who was initially identified as a security guard at a local primary school, was hit by a stray bullet as the police exchanged fire with the militants who were said to be planning an attack. Police confirmed that gunshots and explosions were heard in the town throughout the night. And moving on, members of the National Assembly are this afternoon expected to debate the approval of Chief Justice nominee David Maraga. The National Assembly's decision to concur with the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee endorsing or rejecting Maraga to head the Supreme Court will see him succeed the retired Chief Justice Willy Mutunga, or a fresh start to the whole recruitment process. The committee, chaired by Anabkoi Member of Parliament Samuel Chepkonga, vetted Maraga on Thursday but asked the House for more time to write and table the report. Maraga will face three petitions challenging his approval, touching on decisions he made while he served as a High Court judge. And for more details about this particular debate expected later in the day, let's now join our senior parliamentary reporter, Patrick Amimo. A very good afternoon to you, Patrick. Many thanks for joining us here on News Desk. What are some of the things we expect in the afternoon, given that there has already been an announcement that the Chief Justice or the Chief Justice nominee will be sworn in tomorrow? Does it make the members of Parliament or the National Assembly just a rubber stamping body? Good afternoon, Patrick Amimo. If you can hear me, kindly. Yes, we are trying to get hold of Patrick Amimo there. Seemingly we have a problem with the connection, but he will be joining us later on to just explain some of the things some of the sins we expect on the floor of the House later in the day as they debate the nomination of Justice David Maraga for the position of Chief Justice. Now, several member states of the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA, have supported the candidature of Kenya's Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohamed to the position of the chairperson of the African Union Commission. Now, through envoys at the 19th COMESA Heads of State and Government Summit in Madagascar, Ethiopia, Malawi and Rwanda have voiced support for Amina's bid. Kenya is represented at the summit by Deputy President William Ruto, who also lobbied for Amina's election. President Uhuru Kenyatta, who was in Togo over the weekend, also lobbied for Amina's election, meeting at least 8 heads of state.
Agenda 2063 must benefit from the best of the human resource that we have in this continent for us to achieve it. We must put our best foot forward. And because Agenda 2063 is very dear to all of us in this continent, and we want to make it a reality every day that we live. That is why President Uhuru Kenyatta and the government of Kenya presented Amina Mohamed as a candidate for the AU Commission Chair.
Now is the time, with our Agenda 2063, to engage a very high gear for economic emancipation and progress in the light of the many opportunities and the new challenges.
Ambassador Amina, I didn't know you before, but now when I see you, you look like smart, very smart woman. And I trust the lady. 60% for my employed, they are all ladies because they are assured that I trust the ladies. So I hope that you're gonna get it. So for the case of Madagascar, now we take note of that, but we will see, but I'm sure that you're gonna get it.
All right, let's go back to the August House, where members of Parliament are expected to debate the report by the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee on the nomination of Justice David Maraga for the position of Chief Justice. The debate is expected to take place later in the afternoon. Let's now link up with our senior parliamentary reporter, Patrick Amimo, for more updates on what exactly we expect to see in the afternoon. A very good afternoon to you, Patrick. Many thanks for joining us. As I'd earlier mentioned, there was an announcement at State House today that the Chief Justice nominee will be sworn in tomorrow. Does this just make it a formality for the National Assembly? Is it a rubber stamping body, so to speak?
Thank you, Akisa. Just to bring you up to speed, Article 166, subsection 1 of our Constitution mandates the National Assembly to be the final body that will endorse or confirm the appointment of a Chief Justice. Remember, after the Justice and after the Judiciary Service Commission did nominate Justice David Maraga as the next Chief Justice to succeed Dr. Willy Mutunga, they forwarded the name to the President, who later took the name to the National Assembly. And the relevant committee that was supposed to vet the nominee was the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. This morning, they had an in-house meeting where they went through the report after they vetted Justice David Maraga Thursday last week. So this morning, the members went and were looking at the report on what the vetting process went through. And we expect this afternoon the chairperson of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, Samuel Chepkonga, to table the report in the House, and later in the evening after the 6:30 p.m. there will be a procedural motion to allow the House to sit at 6:45 for at least 3 hours in order to have members debate that particular report and see whether before they deliver a vote on whether to accept or reject Justice David Maraga's nomination to the position. And as you alluded to it, that the President has already said that he's expecting to have to swear in the Chief Justice tomorrow, and that is David Maraga. It is something that it will depend on whether members of Parliament will endorse the candidate for that for his later appointment. Remember, earlier before when the Judicial Service Commission nominated Justice Maraga, we had the opposition leader Raila Odinga asking the President to facilitate his appointment of the Chief Justice, and we see if then Maraga's name wins favor among members of Parliament, it will mean that he'll sail through without any obstacles. Akisa?
So I don't know whether you've been able to speak to some members of the National Assembly. What are they saying? Do any allude to them not vouching for Justice David Maraga later in the afternoon?
Indeed, that particular report, the content will now be discussed on the floor of the House once the report is tabled, because members were given an opportunity at least to have a go to read the report. That's why at least the debate has been set for 6:45 this afternoon. This will allow members to have at least a look at the report and see what the committee recommends, and if they have any issues, probably any grey areas, maybe that will give them opportunity to debate on the floor of the House. Remember Thursday last week when David Maraga faced the vetting committee, there were some petitions to do with the ruling he made on the death of then Ainamo MP David Toh, who was murdered in 2007 after the post-election violence, and there were concerns that he did acquit the suspect. But Justice Maraga said that at that particular time when he made the ruling, there were two, the defense had two issues. One was, one issue that they relied on was self-defense, and the judge said that if he were to go to act on the self-defense, he would have acquitted the suspect. But then there was another issue that was of importance in this particular matter, and that was to do with provocation. So Justice Maraga said he went for the provocation aspect. That's why he made his ruling, and then reduced the murder charge to manslaughter, and that's why he handed the suspect 10 years in jail. But again, this particular matter, the state appealed, and is before the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal is yet to determine the case. The other petition that he faced was on why he acquitted the suspects of the Kiambaa church, where at least 30 people were killed in that particular church. And Justice Maraga said that the evidence provided before him by the police was weak to allow a conviction. So he blamed the police for doing a shoddy investigation. So those were the two outstanding matters that were faced, that Justice Maraga faced, and he did explain on why he made the ruling then. So I think when the matter comes before the House this afternoon, members of Parliament will have an opportunity to interrogate such issues and then be given a chance to vote on it later in the evening. Akisa?
Patrick, thank you very much for that update. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on the National Assembly today. Patrick Amimo is a senior parliamentary reporter joining us from Parliament. Now, a United Nations convention met today to discuss how to combat desertification and drought, not only in Kenya but other parts of Africa. And our reporter Caroline B attended that particular conference. Let's now join her live from our city center studios to just understand some of the solutions that were reached at this particular convention. A very good afternoon to you, Caroline. Many thanks for joining us. What exactly was discussed in this particular convention?
Afternoon, Akisa. I think, first of all, it's important to note that since man announced that there's going to be a Nina here in Kenya, it has already started being experienced in areas Garissa. We're looking at Kilifi counties. This area has been hit by the drought, and since it's an emerging issue, well, it's best that the United Nations with the Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources convened a meeting so that they can be able to discuss these issues and see how well they can be able to maybe put recommendations and tackle this problem that is becoming quite a problem in Kenya. And some of the issues that came up was about land degradation. Most Kenyans actually engage in charcoal burning as opposed to planting more trees, and as you know, we need to achieve the 10% forest coverage here in Kenya, which has not yet been achieved, and which was a convention that was discussed in Bonn, Germany, to get the 10% forest cover here in Kenya. So land degradation is still a problem, which has led to desertification in most areas. If we look at Lake Magadi, for instance, well, the river could be drying up if interventions or measures are not going to be put in place as fast as possible. And the PS, Mr. Sunkuli, who was representing the Cabinet Secretary, Judy Wakungu, said that if they can be able to sort out these land degradation issues, then maybe in the next 3 years or in the next 10 years, we shall be able to achieve the forest covers. Another issue is about land being left to waste out. As you know, in Kenya, we need to have 75% of food provisions to Kenyans, which is still a problem. And most of the times when we need this food, we go to forest and wetlands to acquire this land, as opposed to other lands that have been left bare. If you go to most places in Wajir, for instance, you find that land is left bare and it is not being put into use for agricultural purposes or for food production. And this was an issue that was raised by the UN Secretary for the United Nations Convention on Drought, which is a conference that is currently ongoing, that if they can also be able to get this wasted lands as opposed to getting the wetlands and the forest, then it will also be another issue that they can be able to tackle drought and desertification in Kenya. Well, the convention actually begins today and is expected to come to a close on the 20th of this month. World leaders are coming together, and various players from the environment sector are coming together so that they can discuss on policies that can be put in place to mitigate this desertification in Kenya. And around all the 10 counties, 10 counties in Kenya are actually currently experiencing this desertification, which has left several people without food, livestock dead. You know, cattle cannot also be able to access the fodder that is required. So some of the measures are going to be discussed as well. Akisa?
All right. Thank you very much, Caroline, for that update. Caroline B is our reporter joining us from our City Centre studios with an update on that United Nations convention that is expected to discuss how to combat desertification and drought, something that is already being felt in the country for more than 20 counties. All right. At this point, we'll take a short commercial break. Do not go too far. We still have a lot lined up for you here on KTN News Desk, on international news and sports as well. All right, we close it on that sporty note for our KTN home viewers. But do remember, we continue with the Bulletin on KTN News, where we take a look at what has been making headlines in the country on the international front, and of course, more sports news. My name is Akisa Wandera. Our sign language interpreter has been Lensa Owino. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Let's meet on KTN News for more.